Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome dear all. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah Muhammad ibn Abdullah alayhi wa ala alihi afdalu salati wa ahsanu taslim. Amma ba'd. Dear sisters, dear brothers, the representatives of the NGO sector in KwaZulu-Natal, in Durban, welcome to this important engagement. We are very happy today, this night, to see you. Thank you so much. Thanks a million for your attending, for your sacrificing to attend this important meeting, inshallah azza wa jal. Today, inshallah, we have very important father, Dr. Hani Al-Banna, the founder of Islamic Relief Worldwide. Today, inshallah, the talk will be focusing on the opportunities and the challenges of the charity work. Inshallah, we'll try to cover this topic during 1.5 hours. So you can, inshallah, ask the doctor during the discussion if you have any question, related question, inshallah, so we can share. First of all, inshallah, we'll start our engagement to bless our engagement with recitation of the Holy Quran. So we'll invite Brother Abdul Rahman, inshallah, to recite it.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون ولا تكونوا كالذين نسوا الله فأنساهم أنفسهم أولئك هم الفاسقون لا يستوي أصحاب النار وأصحاب الجنة هم الفائزون لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس لعلهم يتفكرون هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Abdul Rahman. Allah increase you, inshallah. Inshallah, we'll start the program with our father, inshallah, now. Again, you can, inshallah, ask your questions during the engagement. With regard to the salah, inshallah, we'll do the Jama'ah salah downstairs after the event, inshallah, by 8 o'clock. On behalf of Islamic Relief Management, we would like to thank the Islamic Forum to host us today in this blessed hall. Thank you so much. Jazakumullah khair. Dr. Bismillah.
Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillah. Can you hear me? فين الراجل بتاع الميكروفون؟ بسم الله. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. What was the first verse? يا أيها الذين آمنوا
اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله. Not because you are a Muslim, there is a guarantee. Not because you are a believer, there is a guarantee. Allah is reminding us to make taqwa all the time. Another verse, يا أيها الذين آمنوا آمنوا. Oh, you believe? Believe. Yeah, renew your belief. Renew your belief all the time. The third one, ألم يعني الذين آمنوا أن تخشع قلوبهم لذكر الله. Isn't it the right time for those who believe that their heart will be trembled of fear from the mighty or the might of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This microphone is playing games. So قالت العرب آمنا قل لم تؤمنوا قولوا أسلمنا. The Arabs, not the Arabs, the Bedouin, which is the Arab, not the Arabs, said, we have become believer. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to them, no. You just said the word, the kalima. قولوا أسلمنا ولما يدخل الإيمان في قلوبكم. And when Iman sits in your heart, it will be a different story. Shahada, kalima is not Iman, it's just Islam. فلتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد. What our brother recited this. Each one of us, each soul should look forward what it prepares for tomorrow. What is it preparing for tomorrow? What it's preparing for tomorrow. Because tomorrow is the big day. The big day when nobody will be with us. Alone. With the angel, alone in 1 to 2 meters, alone for a long time, to see from the window in the grave our place, inshallah, in heaven, astaghfirullah azim, other people will see their place, a'udhu billah min shaitanir rajim, in hellfire. فَلْتَنْظُرْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ لِغَدٍ. We have to prepare for future by planting today our amal. Our amal is like a tree or fruitful trees. We keep planting them day by day, night by night, week by week, to see the fruit, maybe in this life or in the life to come. This is what our brother was saying about يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد. صح؟ Charity work or humanitarian work or social work becomes a profession, like medicine, like teaching, like engineering, like mechanical engineering, like science and technology. It becomes a profession. It is not something just we do it just emotionally. Emotion is good to take you forward. But if you want to do it properly, you have to consider it as profession. A profession exactly has policies, has procedures, has principles, has history, has teachers, has professors, has universities to grant you the degrees. Because it deals with billions of dollars. With billion and billion and billion of dollars from one side. From the other side, it deals with millions and millions and millions of poor people who wants their right. Because the money with you is the right for the poor people. So it should not be treated emotionally with non-professional, non-educated, with people who have no experience and people who have no knowledge. It's good for us to get some brothers and sisters to be very committed. But when we deal with organization, We have to employ the people. استأجره يا أبي إن خير من استأجرت القوي الأمين. The daughter of Sayyidina Shu'aib, when Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam went in front of the crowd, see all these people there and two young girls there, and he asked them, why you are not taking the water from the well? Said, because those people who are look يعني the what do you call it, the shepherd and the people there could not be able to go through them. So he went there and brought the water. And the beauty of Musa is what? He was telling the young girl, because he did not want, even walking in the road, to be distracted by her. You walk behind me. If you want me to go turn right, throw a stone to the right, turn left, throw a stone to the left. So she knew that he's a strong man. She knew that he's an honest man. She knew he's a man of integrity and credibility. And when he went to her father, Sayyidina Shu'aib alayhi salam, and told him the story of killing the Egyptian and running out from Egypt, you know, the daughter said, Daddy, why don't you employ him? Because she likes him. So the daughter proposed Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. Because he was قوي and أمين. استأجره يا أبي إن خير من استأجرت القوي. يعني the one who knows the knowledge, not just قوي in physical, the one who is أمين as well. Knowledge, experience, education, and amana. So when we deal with organization nowadays, because now we are at the era of an institution building, and most of the organization in the West institutionalizing their work. Emotion is good, but has to be built on a structured organization with policy, procedures, and all these sort of things. Challenges. I'm not going to talk about fundraising, but I'm talking about something which might be strange, because I'm a stranger in the city. Okay? You can find me walking in the dark like a candle, okay, or like a ghost. Because when I was there in Antakya last February, in the city after the earthquake, it was a city of ghosts. Nobody was there. No human being was there. Even dogs were not there. Even cats were not there. Only security, military, as well as the people who are waiting for their mothers or their brothers or their sisters to be excavated from the rubble. I am a ghost. Can you see me? If you see me, I am the ghost. Say, I can't see you. All right. Are we interested to spend from our budget some money on research studies? Research studies. The Ummah of Iqra does not have budget for research, unfortunately. That's why the other people build those big universities. We used to have greater universities in the past, but when you stopped spending on research and development, we became backward. You cannot just keep sorting everything by your intelligence, by just mere luck. How much of our budget is spent on research studies? This is a very challenge and the opportunity. Research paper could be a fundraising tool. There's a lot of seats in the front, sisters. Research paper could be a fundraising tool when you do it with a credible university or research center. I was with one of the brothers who was running something Pakistani Poverty Alleviation Fund, the largest in Pakistan. He spent $100,000 on research paper. He raised $1 million or $2 million. Because when you go to a university, you go to a government, you go to big donors, fact-based. It's not emotional. Not something you write from your mind. The university does it, so to be taken seriously by the government, by an institution. But we do not invest in research. We do not spend from our budget on research. This is very challenging. How much we spend in our organization on training? a percentage, to be like a system, capacity building, rehabilitation. How much? Look at your 5, 10, 20 million rank, and how much of them, or some people raising few hundred millions now. How much we spend on training our staff. Our staff is an investment in the people who are running your organization. We don't. Or some of us does. Do we believe that we can build the community? And how? We cannot build the community by coming by parachute down on them, but we have to consult them, to sit down with them and ask them, what do you want? And we together build our community, because they are the community builders. I am the donor. So the donor culture should be imposing itself on the local marginalized community. It should be consultation, participatory approach, inclusivity. Whether this community is Muslim community or non-Muslim community. So the third challenge. Do we believe that we can empower the local community so they can stand and compete with us? Do we believe that we can empower some organizations and let them to be able to fundraise, to implement, and to decrease our role? This is the challenge. We cannot be the only sole doer of the work in the city. Do you believe in communication, networking? Communication, that means that good morning, let's have a cup of tea together. Networking, let's sit down together. Build bridges between this organization and this organization. Do we do that? Do we do that? If we don't do that, it's waste of resources. The least, because we have the public fund, this is what any money to any charity is a public fund. Public fund. And whoever know what do mean by public fund, go and see what Omar was doing, spending the public fund. Go and see what Abu Bakr was doing, spending the public fund. You'll not be able to sleep because they are dealing. One of the amirs of Hims, I mentioned this story, at the time of Omar, his name Saad or Saeed ibn Amir, بس مش فاكر عنه. My ignorance. Omar sent a message to the people of Hims to give him the list of the poor people of the city. Amongst them was Saeed ibn Amr, the Amir. Amongst them, this is accountability. And this is how you deal with public fund. Saeed ibn Amr was one of the companions made Amir on Hims. When he came to Hims, you know what he did? He brought all the dignitary of the city and told them, now you collect the zakah and you distribute the zakah. So because he did not want his money to touch the people's money, the poor people's money. And when they wrote to Umar radiallahu anhu that, they told him, but he has three problems. Saeed ibn Amr, three problems. He said, what are they? The first one was, he come late in the morning. Second one day a week, he does not come out from his house. Third one, he has a fit when he's sitting with us, and Caesar. He brought Saeed ibn Amr. Told, what's wrong? What's happening? Tell me. He told him, I come late in the morning because I don't have a servant at home. I have to clean the house for my wife before I go out. This is where we respect our wife and our family and be hand in hand with her. I have to clean the house and support my wife. The second one, I do not come out one day a week because I have one dress. I have to wash it every week and sit at home. The third one, the fit, or the Caesar. When he was not Muslim, kafir in Mecca, he saw another Muslim. I can't just remember his name. And he saw him, how he was tortured, and the kafir was cutting his flesh. And they failed to support him while he was not Muslim. He made himself accountable to him, accountable of not supporting a Muslim man while he was not a Muslim himself. That's why whenever, remember that, he had this Caesar. Because he's afraid to meet Allah. This is the accountability, and this is how we deal with the public fund. Okay? Lack of communication, networking means waste of resources. If you want to challenge me, I'm ready. I am absolutely ready. Even in the case of Syria, the earthquake, the country director of Islamic Relief went as well, because he was there in Turkey. And he came to say one word. There was a lot of hadr. Hadr is more than waste. Because everybody wants to go there for the photograph. In a city of ghosts. Nobody there. But I drove my truck, or I get our food. There's nobody there for the food. There's nobody there for the clothes. And big bales of clothes were thrown in the middle of the street. Lack of communication is an absolute crime. What do you call it? Clear crime of waste. You work in this village? Okay, fine. You do water? I do sanitation. You do education? I do community building. And whatever it is. And none of us can do everything. None of us. And don't ever think that if you raise 500 million or whatever it is enough. Ha, ha, ha. It's nothing. You know when I crack the jokes? Mrs. Penny Appeal. 13 organizations in Europe, they call themselves SCHR. Their budget more than 25 billion dollars. They sit down twice a year to coordinate. To coordinate, to network, to think, to strategize, to direct. Billions of dollars, but they sit together to coordinate. Media. We have been abused by media. We have been tarnished by different kinds of media, whether it's social media or ordinary media, whatever you call it. How are we using the media? Are we spending money on media to highlight our issues? To register the mistakes and the opportunities and the achievement? Professional. Not somebody like me who just go and record something and put it on Facebook. This is not media. Not an officer, this is not media. I was talking to the brothers this afternoon about the only everlasting film done or directed by Mustafa Al-Aqad. What's the message? Did we do other film like Al-Risala? No. No. Why not? And you see how many hundreds of millions of billions of Muslims have seen this movie many, many times. Many times. So media or drama is something to spread your message. In the good old days, you know what the Prophet ﷺ was doing? There was no computer. Was computer there? No? Yes? There was no telephone. You know who was the media outlet? The poet. That's why the Prophet ﷺ was actually using them. Because when this poet recites his poems or her poems, it goes electric. But the Prophet ﷺ knew the technology of media in the middle of Mecca with no communication skills. We're not going to talk about telepathy. It's given to certain people. But he knew that the poet himself or herself is the one who spreads the message of deen, that he was actually hoping that they pick up Islam and spread it. That's why Hassan ibn Thabit was the tongue of Islam, the poet of Islam and Muslim. Media. Do we invest? Don't come and tell me I made a video. Nobody will see it, will watch it. Nobody will watch it. But spend whatever you can to make a video that anybody and everybody can see it. And in the Egyptian, ادي العيش لخبازه ولو ياكل ثلاث ارباع. One of the songs was give the bread to the one who bakes it, even if he or she eats 3/4, because at least you'll get a quarter of it. But if you give it to somebody like myself, you get nothing. I'll burn it. ودي الواد لأستاذه ولو يسقط عشان ينفع. And give the child to the teacher, even if he failed, but at the end of the road, he will succeed. Because the teacher, if the boy or the girl failed this year, definitely next year he or he will succeed. Suraya Hilmi, rahmatullah alayha. She was a singer. We watch television. Documentation. Do we document what we do? Do we document what we do? It's a crime. Because the generation to come have to understand what have we been doing. Did we document the history of Muslims when they came here 300-400 years ago? My first visit was, where's my ustaz? Stand up, please. At least people can hand you applause from my teacher, Raza Yusuf Muhammad. Please. He hosted me in 1995. Overfed me. That's why I'm still fat. When I went to Cape Town, a lot of people came from Malaysia, from Indonesia. They make them saints. I'm not talking about theology now. Did we document the journey of those people? Did we? Who will document it? Who will make your son or your daughter very proud of their great-grandparents? Who came, who knew English, did not know English or French or whatever it is, and they stood like a rock to build the community. They were community builder by their spirit, by their heart, by their vision, by their message, by dedication, by commitment. But we don't document. We do not document, which is extremely serious. Any organization has to document everything for the generation to come and for the time being. This is a part of the accountability, documentation, whether audio or visual or writing. In the good old days, documentation was by verbal discussion. People used to memorize everything. The Arabs used to put the poetry on the wall of Kaaba, and when they look at it, they memorize it. But this generation is gone. Now whatever we do, we forget. Because we have been distracted by technology. Documentation is another challenge and opportunity. Because documentation can create the future leader who will know, she or he, how the journey started, how they met the challenges, how they failed and they succeeded. Without documentation and writing histories and reading histories, we are a waste of time. And we are wasting our mission. Arts. We are Salafi, like myself, and Sufi, like myself, and Tablighi, like myself. I'm all of them. When I sit down with our Shia brother, I said, I'm Shia, because Shia is the one who is sidelining himself or herself to Al-Bayt. And I am from Al-Bayt, so what? Don't let the Shiaism to divide the community. What kind of art? She's the calligraphy in the good old days. She's the architect in Andalusia, or in Turkey, or in Egypt, or in different. Even the way they build mosques in India, different to the way they build mosques in Egypt, and Tunisia, and Morocco, and the others. Each art is different because it reflects the culture and the love of the people to preserve the history of the religion of their people. Art is haram. What makes it haram? Television is haram. Why? Television is a tool of information. You make it haram by what you show, or you make it halal by what you show on the television. Art. All this as a part of our humanitarian work, by the way. I didn't talk about projects, brothers and sisters, or fundraising, or good governance, or yes, I know, because people will come and tell you this. But let me take you to another ocean, actually. Writing the history. Who is writing our history? I said documentation before that. The role of young people. Come stand next to me, brother, because I want you to elevate me. He is an elevator, 100-horse elevator, and I'm just a bit 1 ton what? 1 ton fat, whatever you call me. If I don't invest in young people, I have a dead organization, or dying organization, or dormant organization. And we should invest at the time when we are in power. Because you have the authority. You have the decision, you can make the decision. Not when we leave, we said, oh my God, we should have. No. While you are there, you should invest in him and her, and him and her, and prepare them for the future leadership. As I mentioned many times, maybe this morning also I mentioned it, the 6 or 7 or 8 people in the mid-90s who built the Islamic Leaf was under 30. In the 80s, we used to have school students, university students. And I can mention their names. They have the power, they have the energy, they have the drive, and we managed to do this. Between 85 to 95, 96, 97, 99, those young people were the energy. Some of them now working for UN, some of them now working for the British government, and for big organizations. One of them is the CEO of DSE. DSE is the Disaster Emergency Committee of UK, which include all the charities, the big ones of UK. And he started with Islamic Leaf in the 90s as data entry. Now, he is somebody. The king will meet him to listen, to be briefed by him. The minister will be briefed, he'll be briefing him. Even the one who reported the humanitarian situation in Afghanistan in 2002. 2002. It was very dangerous for anybody to go to Afghanistan at that time, after January. Because the Northern Alliance were trying to revenge to what happened to Ahmad Shah Massoud. They were anti-Arabs and anti-Pakistani. And he was Pakistani-British. Then when he came, he was giving the report to whom? Sakandar Ali. You know the Raja? Raja. Speak like Raja. Bismillah, mashallah. I always call him James Bond. You know him? Sakandar Ali. I always call him James Bond. Because he's very handsome, very focused, and whatever you call it. He was reporting to the upper house and the lower house. The House of Commons and the House of Lords. And we were in the balcony in tears. Because we never thought in 2001 or 2002, when the whole world standing against Islam, we are reporting about the situation. And we were the reference point at that time. But when he started, before that, he was still in the university. Here, investing in young people is not a joke. It's a must. It's a must. دور المرأة, the role of woman. They have a role. I'll tell you why. Because when women look at a social problem, she deal with it differently to when man looks at it. Yes, boss.
Sorry to disturb you. May the person that's driving the Mercedes-Benz E200, the number plate here, please may you just move your car. Thank you.
I'm talking about women, don't leave. I'm talking about you. So when women see a problem, she sees it differently. I forgot to mention this morning in Al-Falah school, because I was cut off. Once upon a time, a tabi'i called Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib was a very learned scholar, refused to let his daughter to marry the Khalifa, or the son of the Khalifa. And one of his students in the class, not in the class, in the mosque, did not come for 2-3 days. And he said something wrong with him. So when he went to ask, he knew that his wife died. So you know what he has done at that time with the culture of the time? He took his daughter, because he trusted his student, exactly like the daughter of Sayyidina Shu'aib proposed Sayyidina Musa. See the good thing? Daughter of Shu'aib proposing Musa. You need somebody to propose you. And so Sa'id ibn Musayyab was giving his daughter with her permission to marry his student. And he went to the house. The young man said, "Who is there?" He said, I am Sa'id. Many Sa'id. Many Sa'id. How many Sa'id here in Durban? 1,000, 2,000, 100,000. Said, which is Sa'id? Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib. He said, oh my God, my ustaz, my teacher. He said, my son? Said, what? This is my daughter. She accepted your marriage. And he went to the roof of the house, calling his mother, his neighbors of female, please help me, I'm getting married, without knowing. All the women came to the house, Bismillah, mashallah, said, Sa'id, get out for 3 days till we prepare the house for you and for your daughter. Then what happened? On the 3rd or 4th day of marriage, he wants to go out to the mosque to listen to her father. He said, where are you going? He said, I am going to listen to your father. He said, sit down here. I will teach you what my father is saying in the mosque. Very knowledgeable young woman. I will teach you. Same was for the daughter of Imam Malik. She used to listen to the discussion in the room. Education of a woman is essential and vital because she has a great role to play. And the man, when he read the books of Imam Malik, he tell him, okay, fine. He will hear from behind the door. That means that the man is doing some faults wrong. She was reviewing the discussion of the student of Imam Malik when she was there listening to the discussion. This was the culture of the time and the knowledge of the woman. Those women had the great scholars, not only in Islam, in science and technology. Science and technology, everything. The role of woman is essential. My wife treats things differently to me because Allah created her different. I need her. I need her. And she needs me to complement the role that was. We have to get them inside the organization, in the decision making, in the consultation, because the community, if you go to any refugees camp, 70 to 80% of the individuals are either women or young children. We went one day to Mandera in North Kenya. And we were having long beard. No, not like you. And when the woman saw us, the children, because the dust was red, the beard is black. And when we came out of the car, they look us like devils. You know, people with red beard. The children were crying and scared. The woman was just polite. And they take back step. We realized that we did not have any woman with us in this journey. After 2 years after that, when we went to Chad, Niger, Mali, and Libya in 2007, were 3 young girls. The reception of the 3 young girls was incredible. By the children, by the woman, by everybody. She has a role to play. If we talk about mahram, here the fiqh has to come and tell me, in the mahram theory, shall I allow others who do not have the same culture to come and teach my children or to come and be with my woman, or shall I find a solution for the mahram at that time, at the new time? Role of woman. Succession planning. Who is preparing for the one to take his seat? Not my son, not my daughter, because the organization is public fund. It's not mine. Not from my jama'at only. It could be the best in the community. That's why I was, on the last nearly 40 years, 6 CEO of Islamic Relief. I was the first, unfortunately, and I was very bad, very rude, very thick, very dull, very frightening. Alhamdulillah that you have not seen me 20, 30 years ago. That's your luck. Second one was someone who is half Egyptian, half Irish. Third one was Yemeni. Fourth one was Egyptian. Fifth one was from Eritrea. It was part of Ethiopia. Nasr Haq Hamid. Number 6, originally from Pakistan. And all of them are still alive and kicking. Succession planning. Succession planning. Succession planning. Diversity and inclusivity. Do you apply it? Do you include others? This is what we need to ask ourselves. What do you mean by diversity? And what do you mean by inclusivity? You know how Islam ruled by empowering the local community. How Islamic civilization rose for 1,000 years by empowering the local community. When civilization coming from at the time of the Ottoman, different to the time of the Umayyad, different to the time of Abbasi, different to the time of actually the Andalusian. Because the local community is making them. It's not the Arabs. The Arabs started. Khalas, finished. The Turks started. But the rest go on. So when you are there, empower the local community to enable them to build the civilization and to explore their potentials. Respecting other culture and other philosophy of thinking. My God is not your God. And the Prophet ﷺ, once upon a time, the Christian of Najran from Yemen, you know, the old good old days, they were wearing all this kind of black dress with crosses and other things. And they came where? Where they met the Prophet ﷺ. In Sundown Football Club? Sunrise Football Club? In the Medina Mosque. With their dress, which has a cross. Not only that, in the history, it said that they wanted to pray their late afternoon prayer. He allowed them. Some of the Muslims were very upset. So it's not about praying or not. It's about delivering the message to those people who came thousands of miles from Yemen to Medina. Because my message, my duty as a prophet is to deliver the message. And it's up to Allah to guide them or not. But in the mosque of the Prophet, inclusivity, allowing people to come there and listen, and he can extend arms to them. Admin cost. Never trust any organization who said zero admin cost. And say, me saying that. You know when you get zero admin cost, brother? Where?
Zero happens.
Where? Sisters, anybody know where you can get zero admin cost? Zero admin cost? In heaven, sister. Inshallah, when you go to heaven, you know what you do, sister? You do that. Listen, look at me. Who knows that what you want? Allah. You want a chicken? You want plow, prata, katlema, samosa, bakura? It's on the table. There's no admin cost. If somebody tells you admin cost zero in this life, said no. You have to even if some donor donated the money for the admin cost, you have to declare it as a matter of accountability and efficiency. Because the donor may give you 20 million rand, and you only raise 15, 20 million. This may be 100% admin cost. Efficiency has to be on the table. Islamophobia. I'll give you an example what happened to us during September 11th. What's happening now to all the organization. During September 11th, we have never believed that this was September 11th. I was sitting in I used to have a big room with a desk and with secretary. Now, I had Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah means Alhamdulillah. And when I saw the television, I thought it's a movie. Then within an hour, I was told it is the Twin Tower and. Everybody was scared and shocked. Shocked. What the American will do, particularly to the Muslim in Europe and America, because we had office in Los Angeles. And all our offices in the West. We, the three of us, myself and the head of IT and the head of media, we were coming out from the toilet to wash our hands. This is a true story. And the media director was not a Muslim. He said, Doc, said what? That it's the time to lower our head down. Instantly. Said, no. It's the time to raise your head up. Because we have done nothing wrong. We are not those people who destroyed the Twin Tower. We are not. Have nothing to do with them. We are a part of the Muslim of Europe. We have to stand up for the Muslim of Europe. And we were calling for interviews. We were calling for the interviews. But before we went to the interview, we chosen 4 or 5 of us to go and sit with a company who is specializing how to meet the camera. We paid about 4,000 or 5,000 pounds on the day, just for one day in 2001. You can imagine how expensive it was. To know how you deal with the camera, how you talk to the interviewer. And alhamdulillah, we have a lot of interview because we are calling for it. Why should you feel guilty for some crime that has been done by somebody else? It's not your crime. Be above board. War and terror and others, and I'll stop now because I will ask you, like I said this morning, is that right? Roasting, grilling, deboning, what else? Boiling. I need to be boiled, roasted, and Bismillah, mashallah, a lot of sisters, they are very good in cooking. And you will eat. Because they roasted me this morning in the university, is that right? Roasted, grilled, boiled, deskinned, and deboned. That's what they have done to me for nearly 1.5 hours this morning. Jazakum Allah khair, may Allah bless you, inshallah. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Any question? Any comment? Stand up. Come, brother, forward. Come. Because I have BBC and ITV with me, and I have the South Africa television and North Africa television with us.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, I hosted you.
I'm not Sheikh, I'm just a brother.
Dr. Anil Maina. 2002, you were here for a few days. So I took you to see Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman give the givers.
Yes.
To took you around Durban, show you a few of the sites. From that time to now, it's been about 20, 21 years. The Muslim NGO sectors are still on the same trajectory. How do we change them to be able to work as a cohesive, to work as a team? For them, to, all the stuff you said about sharing, communication, opening up your books to understand what each one is doing, each different playing fields, whether it's education, charity, government. How do we get them all to one platform?
Changing them something else, and one platform something. Changing them is something, and one platform something else. I'll talk about both of them.
That's my
Yeah,
take.
okay.
How do you get them to change
Yeah.
their mindset?
Yeah. They are not going to change unless they were shocked. Unfortunately, I'm very blunt. I've been struggling, not me, all of us, with the Syrian organization in Turkey. In the first 3 years after the conflict in Syria, the government of Turkey were giving them honeymoon, 3, 4, 5 years. Then they start to have complaint. The civil servant in the Turkish government start to complain about money going on. Somebody saying that I spent $10 million. In the bank, it's 4 million. How on earth? If those people will receive a shock, they will realize that they have to stand up or rise for the standard of accountability. Because as I said, Hazrat Umar and Abu Bakr and the other Khulafa were dealing with public fund. That's why they have been prepared to spend this public fund and save it. Making a platform of coordination is a dream. We made something in UK called Muslim Charities Forum. It took about 3 to 4 years to discuss the issue with 5 or 6 Muslim charities before we launched it in 2009. It's functioning, alhamdulillah. Now, not all the Muslim charities in the UK are in it. But after all these difficulties, during COVID, we had more recognition from the government and from the private business, the non-Muslim private business. Alhamdulillah. But it took, you see, don't say about unity is something that we can do. It's something which sometimes impossible to do. Sit down together. We have got Sufi brothers, Dubandi brothers, the Tablighi brothers, and organization, Shia as well. All those sitting together. You know what I was told as a sign of success? Even if we only sit down to discuss with one another in open heart, this is a success and achievement. And this is what one of the CEOs of the Muslim Hands. Is Muslim Hands here? Okay. And Penny Appeal as well. So when we look at this, it's not easy to say that I'm going to make a platform for people to come. Because still, people look at by the way, this is not a logo. This is Srebrenica. Srebrenica, 1995, lost at least 11,000 people. When the Dutch UN peacekeeping forces surrendered it to the Chetnik. That's why I keep this flower with me in all my jackets, called Love and Peace, the 2 colors. And this is made by the widows and the mothers of the lost. Every year, they excavate remains of 20 bodies, not the whole body, just remains. So when you look at this, it's difficult to bring people together. You know why? Alhamdulillah, Rabbina akramni. Allah supported me to leave Islamic Relief in 2008. Because Islamic Relief in 2008 were established. Alas, does not need me. And they let me go to do something else. Like this year, we had 4 or 5 coordination meetings for Syria and for Sudan. Because the other organizations are very busy. raising fund to help. We have to bring people on one table. Alhamdulillah, we did that. It was a struggle because we are 2.5 individual organization with a budget of less than 100,000, and we cry to raise the fund for them. Even sometimes I ask Islamic Relief to buy my ticket or to book me in a hotel. And in Istanbul, one of the Islamic Relief young brothers put me in a hotel, which I loved it. No reception. The room has a toilet, no wardrobe, just hanger, no desk, no seat, just the bed. And the mirror, you can see yourself in it. It's about 30 euro in the middle of Istanbul. Alhamdulillah, it's good. Just you sleep there for a day or 2 or 3, and that's it. So what else you want? You want the internet? You want a bed? You want a toilet? That's it. Yes, sir.
With technology that we have, with the AI, can't we integrate vertical integration together?
Yeah.
We can be able to crunch all the data and the numbers and
Yeah.
be able to exploit the technology.
With technology, also you can make meetings, because the 4 or 5 meetings about Syria and Sudan was by Zoom. Otherwise, it costs a lot of money. Alhamdulillah, we succeeded. But even so, we don't have the fund to pay for the people who can bring people together on a Zoom meeting. This is a difficulty of understanding. Remember at the beginning of the talk, I talk about networking. Networking becomes a compelling necessity. It's not a joke. Thank you, brother. Anyone else? Any sister? Any brother? تفضل. I need to be elevated next to you.
So there's two. One is a comment and
Yes, go on. Bismillah. Face the audience.
so in South African context,
Yeah.
alhamdulillah, we got quite a few. We are a small community of Muslims in geographical representation, but lots of organizations. Alhamdulillah, everybody wants to do good. Similar to Brother Salim that said that we want to. But so Islamic Relief being international, alhamdulillah, you know, they did a school, at the university, they busy fixing up a school, right? So, and that brought a lot of the big organizations together.
No.
So alhamdulillah, that was a good, and a lot of them still sit, so we're sitting at one platform. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
So with your experience, or because you're a global organization, I think you can probably get people like the Gift of the Givers, Alim Das, and all of that in our context in South Africa, that we can host it and use your guidelines that you have, inshallah.
I think we discussed this one in Juba, in Cape Town, and even this morning with Imdad. You don't have to worry about how many organizations come with you. Start with the few who believe in the mission, and it will grow by the time.
Would Islamic Relief probably make the vehicle to start with?
I can ask the Yusuf Muhammad, make a dua for him, because he's not feeling well. He had something like Caesar, but actually I only saw him for an hour or 2, but he's still in the house for the last 2 weeks. Just make a dua for him. We can start it. And actually, I was discussing it with the people in Cape Town who came from Durban, and the people in Juba or from Juba, and every one of them wants it to happen. Let us have the 5 or 6 organizations who have all the bylaws, all the principles. We can give it to you. You don't have to start from scratch. And even I said to some of the brothers yesterday, I can come back for a day or 2 or 3, but you have to start. But the success of our mission was that the chairman is not a member of any organization. Shouldn't be a member of any organization. The chairman of the board. He should be active from the public. Should have also a ratio of independent members. So if you have got 15, maybe 30% should be independent. And the rest will be members of the organization, represent the organization. We are following in this what the EC did in 1960. The chairman, when I was chairing the Muslim Charities Forum, I already left the Islamic Leaf. And this was actually 2010. I left 2010. Then the current chairman, because I stepped down last year, is Muazzam Malik. He's an ex-ambassador, he's the ambassador, British ambassador to Indonesia, and civil servant, far more better than myself, understanding the mechanics of the government and. Khalas, I done my role. You have somebody who will be able to identify the land and dig and take the dust out. Somebody else will build. I did my bit of it. I need to leave. So, but it's not easy. Get this, they won't come. You know what? When we were doing these workshops in Iraq, the golden proverb was, what is that for me? What I'm going to get from it? Why should I come? Hey, so what? Anil Banna, so what? Sister Shahanzad, so what? Brother Ali, so what? Is any money for me or not? If there's money, I got one of the sisters from Kuwait one day, one of the workshops for Syria. Wallahi al-Azim. Everybody came. Everybody, and she does not have money. Because she's very good. She was working in Yemen for 16 years. 16 years in Yemen. As Kuwaiti woman, oh my God, Bismillah, mashallah. Very strong woman. Stronger than thousands of men. She has been decorated by Sheikh bin Maktoum and the Amir of Kuwait and the other because of her work. Her name is Maali al-As'usi. And everybody came from Maali, but Maali does not have money. And I was laughing because they ignored me. I was actually in a meeting and standing next to the car, and they were taking Maali for dinner and leaving me behind. Hungry. Yes, brothers and sisters. Yes, sister. Yeah, Carlos. I think, shall I give you, is the microphone can go there?
I think I'm loud enough.
No, but for the camera.
I'll manage. I'm loud enough.
Yeah. No, you can stand here. You can stand where you are.
You can hear Brother
All right.
Dr. Bana.
Yeah.
I think one of our greatest challenge here
Yeah.
in KZN is duplication.
Duplication.
Okay?
That's right.
So, and that was over-exacerbated at the time of the pandemic.
COVID.
Yes. At the COVID time, lockdown time. Alhamdulillah, our NGOs with big heart and will run to give out whether it is food parcels or whether it's hot meals, whatever. But you know what Brother Apex just presented now is this whole thing about unity. You're not going to get unity.
No.
You know, that is something, it's a needle in the haystack. But at least come to the table for
Yeah.
the pleasure of Allah.
Yes.
Do something that's going to assist everyone.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah.
That's what basically is what I'm trying to say. So you'd find that if there is a disaster somewhere, our NGOs have such a big heart that they would all run to that place.
It's a microphone.
Okay. Do I hold it like this?
For the camera.
Oh, for the camera.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in the camera.
No, you're not in the camera. The microphone is for the camera. Your voice will be on the.
Oh, okay, I'll leave it like this.
Yeah,
But
okay.
I mean, rather you be there. So my thoughts are thrown out now. So what I'm saying is that when there's a disaster, you
Yes.
find NGOs all crowding to give the aid that is needed within
Yeah.
that problem. Now, what we are trying to say is that it'll be so nice if NGOs, even if you don't want to unite, but to say, I want a designated area, because we got more than 300 NGOs here.
Bismillah, mashallah.
Alhamdulillah, and this is public money, you must know, public funds. Donors are doing their duty to say, so much of zakat I have to take out, so much of lillah, give it to this NGO and let them expedite. But deep in our heart, we must have conscience. Conscience to do that in the best of our ability. Because in the morning, if you decide 300 of these parcels are going somewhere,
To someone.
right, so the job is done by the worker, and that's where duplication comes.
That's right.
Because he'll think now, hey, I've got 1,000 parcels here, food parcel, let me go and just give it Unit 5, Unit 6 of Chatsworth. So it ends up in such a way that the ladies will say, I've got about four
right.
food parcels, because
That's right.
he did his job. He's got 4 o'clock to go home,
Yeah.
and he just did, what he had to do. So if we want some kind of blessings to do something properly, let's do it in a united way. You're not going to get a lot of unity, but at least say, I want to do that area, the whole of Chatsworth. Maybe 5 NGOs can do Chatsworth because it's a huge area. And we also must go to the rural area. I don't know whether some people say zakat is only for Muslims, some say not for Muslims. Now, there's a bit of a dilemma there.
There's no dilemma.
Well, you will try and explain that.
So you're trying to stir me up, huh?
Okay. So, some people will go and give it all out to say, this is for everyone. We're not going to worry about zakat, it's for everyone. So, then there's restriction and we should follow that restriction, right? So, my main subject matter now is duplication. And it worries me day and night, right? That sometimes it's not even duplication. In the month of Ramadan, donor will give a certain caterer X amount of money and say, right, go and distribute bags of food, to the masajids, okay, all the
Madrasa.
masjids. So what happens? Communication, you pointed out, which is a fundamental factor in this, beside getting women organized, right? So what happens is that, as I said, the worker now will go and take that whole bag of food and give it to that masjid. And the masjid will say, but you know what? I don't have anyone coming today for the food. Communication. I haven't told anyone. You all didn't tell me that the food is coming today.
Yeah.
What happens? He's left with that dilemma of food.
Yeah.
Secondly, it goes rotten. The donor's money, not your money. It's the donor's money. You see? So I think that's what we have to take deep in our heart, that it is public funds, donors' money. And of course, some NGOs are doing a beautiful job.
That's right.
My sister here, she's doing a fantastic job.
I remember you.
Yeah, you must remember her. So anyway, as
All
you-
right. I don't remember you.
as you pointed out vehemently, that women do the job beautifully. And of course they do, with respect to you all, So
I think differently.
Yeah. So
And beautifully.
Therefore, if you can throw some light onto that, I'll be happy. All right, on duplication,
Yeah.
zakat, and a bit of unity. We don't want too much unity.
Okay, very much. I think, as I mentioned earlier on, sister, if we don't connect and communicate and network, we are going to be accountable for Allah and to be punished. Because we are dealing with public fund, with orphans' money, with widows' money, with poor people money, with displaced people, and with sick people. It becomes a fard. I, in my own philosophy, call it like the kalima in Islam. If you want to do the social work, you have to do the kalima of the social work, which is networking, communication, and partnership. Because you have no right to give to one individual 4 or 5 food parcels and another one have nothing to take. There's something, it's not who goes first. It's not who goes first to take the photograph. It's how to use the money efficiently. And my advice to the donors, don't give your money to a restaurant. Give it to an organization and ask the organization. As I said at the very beginning, grilling, roasting, you have the right, sister, to grill the organization. You have the right to boil them, to roast them, to roast them, not to roaster, to roast them and to debone them. Questions, you are going to give money. When you give money, you have to ask people who take the money, how are you going to spend the money? Just trusting people is good, but not good enough. The devil could be far more better than us in selling these good, noble causes. You have to ask. And the West, the people there, has to look at your bank account, the audited bank account on the website. Not the website of your organization, but the website of the Charity Commission. And if they find an organization does not publish the website, the bank account for a year or 2 or 3, donors will not give money to them. And they put a question mark on them. So you tell them, you have the right to tell them, show me the audit report. Because what you have is not Islamic relief money. It's not imdad money. It's not gift of the giver's money. It is public money. And you have the right, you as an individual, as well as the government. Unity, as you said, it's something we're trying to bring people together. At least, wallahi, at least to sit down and say good morning to one another. That's it. At least to cut the animosity. In the 80s and 90s, oh my God, it was throat cutting and backstabbing. We had a company called TIC International dealing with recycling clothes, second hand. And they have these clothes banks. And one organization, wherever we bought the clothes bank in a mosque, they bring the clothes bank to the same mosque. Good 2,000 mosques. خلاص يعني. And they came to complain to me, as that time I was saying Islamic relief. I said, leave it. What's for Allah will be for Allah. What's for others will finish. They, Islamic relief, TIC International, still working, employing 50 people in the factory. And 100 people in the shops, charity shops in the country. But the other people, خلاص, finished. Because you can't just, whenever I go this area, you go to the same area. You go somewhere else. Okay, that's communication and networking. And the role of woman, because my mother was a social, not a social worker, but actually she was the host of the divorcee, the one who wants to get married, the one who, the jam'iyya, the one who actually wanted to have a loan. And my father was a professor of Islamic law. So we have the theology in the house and the community understanding. And I'm trying to be like my mother because she was a teacher. She can stare at you, but she kisses you later on. She does not have this in her heart, this grudge in the heart. Inshallah. So use the woman because you are wasting 60 to 70% of the resources of the community by not using her. And as I mentioned, the two Fatima, the daughter of Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, and Fatima is the daughter of Imam Malik. And there was another Fatima, but I can't remember her father's name. She was from Central Asia, near Dagestan, not Dagestan, near Iran, not from Iran, but from a country next to it. And he told the husband, if you want to marry my daughter, because she's very well learned, and knowledgeable, you go understand all the books I wrote and come and she will test you first. And you know, when the woman give a test to somebody, oh, good luck for him if he came alive. Thank you. Anyone else? Come, brother. Brother, brother and sister. Come on. As you have the telephone or microphone, give it to him.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum assalam.
Shukran for the beautiful presentation, and also shukran to Brother Abdulrahman for inviting me to the program. I've benefited a lot. I have a sensitive question. Why I said sensitive? First of all, I have to appreciate, as a Zulu-speaking person from KZN, I have to appreciate a lot of good work that has been done by the Muslim community, relief work in all areas. The Muslim community is doing a lot of work. But in many cases, I always say this good work, when I compare it, it's like a cup in the ocean. It's a lot of work that has been done, that is taking place every day. But comparison is like a cup in the ocean, according to me as Said. But it's a lot of work. And meaning that there is a space there's a lot that needs to be done. But we often get, because I'm coming from a non-Muslim background, I'm staying also in a non-Muslim background, we often get questions by people in our area, even relatives, and Said, now this Jannah, this paradise you are calling us to, as black people, Zulus, is it gonna be same like how it's here in this world, where you're like so poor and the other nations are so rich and they are so poor, even the imams and everything? Is this in Jannah, in your paradise, is also going to be the same like this? Now, so it is a difficult question that we get, because I'm a da'i, I'm an imam, I'm on the ground. Now, I wanted to ask something that what steps or what needs to be done to try and fulfill one of the things that you said, that you have to work with the locals for Din to stay in many places, in Indonesia, in many places, as you have alluded previously, that the locals were involved. Without involving the locals, as much as we may not like them, because it's natural, racism is something that is natural, it happens, Kaumia, all these things are there. As much as we may have these qualities, but to please Allah Ta'ala and make sure that Din sustains and grows, what steps needs to be done, and what did they do in other areas to achieve that the locals were involved and then the Din started growing? Why am I saying this? Just my last note is that, just the last bite. Because Allah Ta'ala is saying in the Quran that those who strive towards us, لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ فِي سُبُلَنَا, that those who are striving towards us will guide them into many paths. There's not only one path. Tasawwuf, maybe it's a path as well. Relief work is a path. Jamaat work is a path. Teaching is a path. This is also a path, relief work, to come close to Allah Ta'ala. If it is a path to come close to Allah Ta'ala, how can we involve the locals in South Africa so that it will make Din sustainable and Din